Yo, it's good. It's your man, 100 grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. The Detroit Pistons get humbled by the Orlando Magic. I'm going to dive into that in this video. If you enjoy it, if you agree, disagree, let me know in the comment section and do the rest. Like, subscribe. I definitely appreciate all the love and support. Let's just dive into this. This was a rough game to watch. And it was rough because essentially Detroit still doesn't have a sense of who they are as a team. This was not the Detroit Pistons that we saw the past 2-3 games. And this is something that young teams generally tend to struggle with, which is consistency. Consistency. You saw this game that I think because they played the Orlando Magic really close in the previous contest that came down to a game winner by Paolo Banchero. I think they thought that they were just going to naturally walk into this game and be competitive. I think they thought that they were going to be able to carry over what they did before into this game. But something that they have to realize is, one, as well as they have been playing and as improved as they have been playing over the past month since the All-Star break, let's just be clear, nobody is really checking for the Detroit Pistons, which means that nobody is really preparing to stop them. But this is the point about that, is that when you do play a good team close and they're down the stretch of the season looking to increase their seeding for the playoffs, they are going to prepare for you. And because they barely beat you the last time, there's going to be a bit of a chip on their shoulder. And so they're going to actually play you with the respect that most of the other teams are already getting. They're going to go ahead and do their scouting reports. They're going to look at what plays you like to go to. They're going to try to take away your go-to easy plays, easy buckets. They're going to force you into things that you're not comfortable doing. And this is where the Detroit Pistons got tried in this game by the Orlando Magic, that they forced them to go into rotations that they weren't ready for. They forced individuals to have to take shots or make decisions who weren't used to making that volume of shots. Asar Thompson is not used to being kicked the ball open to wide open 5, 6, 7 times, 8 times, 9 times in a game and having to make those decisions. He's not used to everything else being cut off. Cade being cut off, Ivy being cut off, Duran being cut off, even Stewart being cut off, and all of a sudden the ball ends up in Asar's hands in the corner. I actually only saw one time in this game that Asar Thompson was cutting off the ball in order to catch the ball in momentum heading towards the basket. You see, he wasn't ready to make that adjustment. And some of it you could say is a coaching thing, but it's also a experiential thing. It's something that you have to understand that teams are going to begin to play you, Asar Thompson, as if you can't shoot. And it's not about you proving that you can shoot. It's about you knowing how to take the best shots for your team. That means if it's a corner three, and you're wide open, no one's flying out at you, go ahead and knock it down. If you're on the wing, you should probably not be just sitting there standing as a floor spacer. You should be cutting off the ball so when you are left open, you catch it, catching the defense off guard and have opportunity to finish right at the rim. But that's just one point of things. The second point is the Detroit Pistons were complaining way too much about calls. Look, ain't none of y'all proven anything. None of y'all have won Rookie of the Year. None of y'all, I don't even think any of them have won the Rising Stars Challenge yet, right? Like they haven't made an All-Star game. What have you done that referees are supposed to give you the benefit of the doubt? And it's not to say that they weren't deserving of calls, that there weren't plenty of missed calls. There were plenty. But you have to understand that these teams are getting ready for the playoffs, which means that the increased level of physicality is going to be something that the referees are going to account for. And they're going to allow that extra physicality that Detroit was not ready for. And because they did not come out with a level of intensity from the identity that we thought they were forming the past few games, they ended up just getting mowed over by the Orlando Magic. Not because the Orlando Magic were more talented, it's because they were more consistent. They executed. They knew what they were going to. And when the game was close, their star showed up. And that's the next point. Cade Cunningham, you didn't show up. You can't shoot 4 of 12. 1 from 4 from 3. And then have no free throw attempts. Cade Cunningham is going to have to learn how to get to the free throw line consistently. He's going to have to learn how to offset his jump shot, his ability to finish around the rim, knocking down open threes. He's going to have to learn how to offset that with getting to the free throw line. There were plenty of times that instead of trying to dribble into the paint and find somebody open and forcing a pass through, he needed to initiate contact. And when you're the number one guy, you have to have the mindset that you have to be a consistent force for your team to have a chance to win, especially against a good team. I keep reminding you guys that the Orlando Magic were a number 3 seed before Franz Wagner got hurt. Then they descended down the rankings until he got back. He's a major part of what they do, especially on the defensive end. Now that he's back, this is a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference level talented team that is now at 100% with Markelle Fultz back as well, who ripped them coming off the bench. He dropped 16 points on them. That was not accounted for at all. He looked damn good, if I'm honest. And that speaks to something that I was frustrated by. Marcus Sasser. Look, I know you ended the game 1 of 8, but you didn't get aggressive trying to find your shot until the fourth quarter. And that was something that hurt the team because you had good looks. You had your looks in that end of the first into the second quarter. And instead of taking those shots, trying to get yourself going, you ended up forcing passes, trying to get other guys the ball when they really weren't that open. They were open, but no more open than a dang you. And it started off with when he got a loose ball and found himself right in front of the rim and decided to kick the ball out to the corner. Who is he kicking the ball out to? Asar Thompson. Marcus Sasser, you can't pass up a layup to pass the ball out to the worst 3-point shooter on the team. That in and of itself was a major part of what kind of created the momentum, or I should say continued the momentum in Orlando being able to build their lead. While we were being, and I say we, the Detroit Pistons, while individuals were being passive, individuals were complaining about calls, individuals didn't come ready to go, the Orlando Magic were just steady being who they are. Physical, defensive-minded, great energy, flying around, hitting the glass, getting into the paint, getting to the free throw line, and their superstars showed up. Their number 1 pick in the draft, Paolo Banchero, showed up. And he didn't show up necessarily getting a bunch of shots early in that first half. That wasn't when he did most of his damage. He got to the free throw line, and that was how he got himself going. And as a result, his team was able to continue to score and get stops while the Detroit Pistons just stayed stagnant. And this is something that the Detroit Pistons are going to have to figure out. How they are going to show up and who they are supposed to be, regardless if they make shots or not. Look, hey, if Jalen Duren doesn't give you 20, that's okay. If Stewart doesn't give you 15, that should be okay. But Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham, you can't end the game with 10 and 9 points respectively. You just can't. You can't. What that tells me is that you guys did not come ready to play. You did not come ready. And I would say Jaden Ivey felt like he came a little bit more ready to play, even though he's been in a bit of a slump as of late. But Cade Cunningham, I needed to see you get to the free throw line. I needed to see you as the aggressor. I needed to see you say, you know what? I'm going to show up even if you guys are struggling. Because let's be clear, Paolo Banchero is in his 2nd season. Cade, technically you're in your 2nd, but 3rd season. You should be able to show up consistently by now. I need to know what I'm getting from you. This team needs to know what they're getting from you. Asar, I don't want you taking 6 threes. Start cutting off the ball. But let me just point to one of the few things that I can say that I can appreciate about this game. There's always a positive, right? There's always something you could point to. Simone Fontecchio, Evan Fournier, you found your jump shots. You guys worked really well together. And I think that it helped to have Marcus Sasser, who's better at breaking down defenses and getting into the teeth of it and getting that collapse and getting them in rotation. And that allowed those two to find easier shots. I think it also benefited that Monty Williams listened to all of us and stopped going with all bench lineups. He kept Jaden Ivey in. I thought there was a moment when they got the lead down to 15 or 13 that he could have put Cade Cunningham back in. But at the same time, I understand why he didn't get a Cade Cunningham back in, because not only was he not scoring, he wasn't playing any defense. He wasn't playing a lick of defense. He wasn't even fouling guys right there at the rim. Like, everyone else is fighting, and you don't slide over and take the charge. And they're looking at you as the leader, not sliding over and taking charges. When you're the man in rotation, staring at the guy coming from the top of the key all the way to the paint, where you're one slide away from taking a charge. You didn't even get in there. Ivy too. Ivy got in there like one time for a charge, and it was weak, and it was late, and it was like, man, it just looked bad. What are you doing? If you're not going to get in there, come on now, just put your body on the line for your team. And so this team is going to have to figure out who they're going to be. James Wiseman, you looked good a little bit, and then you looked a little rough in other moments, but for the most part, I appreciated your energy. But the rest of the team has got to get it together. The guys that you're relying upon, especially that starting unit, stop crying about the missed calls. Start playing some defense and make sure that your energy level and your defensive attention is there night in, night out, every moment you're there on the court. Because as a starting unit, you are leading this team. You are leading. Marcus Sasser, I need you to be consistently aggressive, looking to get your shot. Cade, if your shot's not dropping, Ivy, if your shot's not dropping, you better get to the free throw line. You better start forcing the issue, looking for contact, right? This team has got to be more consistent. They're a young team, I get it. But they got to figure out their identity, and they have got to have guys, leaders, who hold the team accountable to be just that. Whoever it is that they're supposed to be, which is supposed to be, if you're the Detroit Pistons, is tough, physical, defensive-minded, high-energy team play. And we didn't see that today. But as always, I want to know what you all think. Get at me in the comment section. I'm going to holler at y'all next time. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. You know the routine. Peace.